Hi. I'm Connor Hobson. This is Aiden
Hobson.
We're gonna be soon making the Blinky Ball. For now, we're making this review, and we've been drinking a little bit of Blackheart.
This is a drunken
Force Lake Wine and Roses, and we're gonna be doing the Drunkview. Hey, get the fuck off! I'm trying to play Mafia 3.
Oops, I accidentally spilled some on the ground.
Anyway, guess what movie we just saw? Rogue One.
So, this is gonna be
I've also
a
smoked a little bit of pot.
It's a new version of our
Old
chats.
movie reviews that we haven't done in a year. Because Aiden moved up to Duluth, and we're moving back up there.
But what this is essentially, we're both hammered, and we're gonna talk about the movie we just saw.
I also smoked a little pot,
which is called Star Wars Rogue One. Let's do it. Cheers.
Is this
Take
the
another
thing
shot.
we're gonna do? Oh, I'm gonna wink at the camera like a cheesy ass bitch. Oh no, Monster doesn't make good chaser.
We're about
Anyway,
20 minutes out of seeing Rogue One.
It's been like a fucking hour at this point. Actually, we're quite a bit out.
All right. So let's describe the plot of Rogue One.
Basically, a group of rebels, soon to be called Rogue One, leaded by a robot that basically.
All right. Well, let's just start with this. We're gonna
get the plot going because
we're gonna do a lot of spoilers, and I'll describe the plot a little bit. So this is gonna be a full spoiler review, and we're both pretty drunk. So, basically, the movie starts with a cold open. It starts with a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, that shit.
And it goes into a cold open. Essentially, the guy who built the Death Star saves his daughter. He gets taken back to the Death Star. His wife is killed, and he has to make the Death Star. His daughter goes to live with some guy who's from the Clone Wars, and I haven't seen the entirety of the Clone Wars. So
yeah, it's some guy
I don't really
from
know
the
about
Clone
him, but
Wars.
essentially he's like...
That's what I saw. God damn it, learn to drive, bitch.
He's like a black guy with Mad Max legs, and he breathes into this mask. And then anyway, she gets arrested by the Empire for some shit. She does something, and the Empire arrests her. And she gets saved by a robot.
Well,
she gets saved by the rebels.
They arrested her because they were trying to find her because her dad created the Death Star and he was trying to hold her hostage, so they had leverage over him, even though he's pretty much completed the Death Star at this point.
Yeah,
that was my understanding. Maybe I'm wrong.
The guy who built the Death Star, who is the main character's dad, and the main character's named Jyn Erso. Her dad built the flaw in the Death Star that allowed it to be destroyed.
Yeah, he did that shit
in
intentionally. So
4.
basically, he's like, I would kill myself, but
it essentially
just make the Death Star anyways.
It essentially retcons.
Basically, they tried to get him to be the engineer since he's a good engineer. But even though,
and they're trying to explain why the porthole existed, or the exhaust shaft existed that allowed the Death Star to be destroyed. But essentially, Jyn is saved from her arrest by the rebels.
Yeah, it's a group of. It was like, wasn't it the Renegade Rebel? No, those were the real rebels.
No, okay. So anyway, she goes to the rebel base, and they basically tell her, "You gotta go help us get your dad back, because he's building the Death Star, and we wanna talk to him. We wanna tell the Senate what the Emperor is doing." So they go there. They go to the.
What are you talking about?
They go to this planet, and it's all.
Are you already at the water planet?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
yeah. Well,
if you cut out all the boring talking, then there's not much to this movie.
Yeah,
but
right.
Basically,
it's true.
They go to this rock. It's a rocky planet that's really wet. It's raining a lot.
What's the planet?
And they go there. To get the dad.
Oh, you're talking about the planet that was like. Reminded me of that. Shut up. It reminded me of that planet from Halo Reach, like the one where you're Emil.
Yeah, you're super.
You remember the one where
I know what you're talking
play
about.
as Emil and you're actually sniping people?
It's more like Halo ODST, right at the start.
It reminds me of Halo Reach. If I could show you the mission right now, but I'm playing Mafia 3.
We can cut to it.
I probably won't cut to it because I'm too lazy to film my own footage, and I'm not going to steal footage from another channel. But long story short, there's this mission where you play as Emil in Halo ODST 3, which somehow I remember
Halo Reach,
but somehow I remember who Emil is from Halo Reach.
Which one is
Emil? He was the sniper.
That doesn't matter. Yeah. I remember
And
exactly.
essentially,
what
you
you're talking
literally
about,
did the same shit where you were like, he was sniping the guys in the rain on this planet in this outpost, and I'm like, this reminds me of the outpost from Halo
3.
Reach. I like Halo Reach, dude.
I like Halo Reach too. Halo Reach is like the last good.
But let's quit talking about this.
Okay.
We're on
Anyway,
Star Wars.
basically, Jin is paired up with these other people.
And-
There's the love interest guy. I don't remember his name.
Kind of.
But basically, he's kind of a douchebag, and he's kind of like a bad boy. Like they advertise him as a bad boy, but really doesn't do anything. He's all talk, but he doesn't actually shoot.
Look up
He doesn't
his
shoot
characters,
Jin's
'cause
dad.
I don't remember any of their names except Jin. I'm not gonna lie.
He refuses to shoot Jin's dad for whatever reason.
Well, he refuses. Okay, but let's give some context. Basically, he says, "I hate you, Jin. I don't trust you." And then in the next scene, he's sparing his dad because he loves Jin so much. Essentially,
He goes out of his way to save Jin, even though he doesn't trust her and doesn't particularly like her.
He tried to
And he
basically
spares-
put rebel plans at
He
risk.
spares the father because
They also called it like the Alliance in this. It's like, no, it's called the fucking Rebels.
his name is Cassian. I remember that. So there's this robot, and the robot is like Sheldon Cooper. There's the main character who doesn't talk much. There's the rebel whose name is Cassian, and Cassian is supposed to be like the bad boy, even though he doesn't actually do anything. Like a lot of people have been reviewing the movie and saying that Cassian operates in like gray area.
Dude, this plot.
But he
is
doesn't
gonna
actually
be
do anything to
convoluted.
prove that he's a gray area.
Our plot.
And then besides that, there's the Donnie Yen, Donnie Yen is essentially like an action movie star in China. He stars in the Ip Man franchise. Ip Man is essentially
Who's this guy?
Ip Man is about it's about the guy who trained Bruce Lee, and the Ip Man movies are fantastic.
And he's the fucking Asian guy.
That's
in this
Ip Man,
movie?
yeah. That's why I kept calling him Ip Man.
I
But
couldn't put that. I thought you were just being racist.
no, that is literally Ip Man. Ip Man is a monk of the Force. He can't actually use the Force himself, but he can he can sense out the Force.
He would be pretty cool if he didn't quip like Robert Downey Jr.
He does a lot of quipping. And then there's another Asian. Is he Asian?
He kind of.
But there's this
Asian.
guy.
He could be.
He's
fucking
essentially
Muslim.
a warrior, and his best
Or
friend.
South American. He
He's
looks
friends
pretty
with
Hawaiian
Ip Man.
for, like South American.
He essentially
Islander.
defends Ip Man when Ip Man's in trouble. And Ip Man beats people with a staff, and Ip Man's friend shoots people. And then they're friends with the defected Imperial pilot, and the defected Imperial pilot is
they
played by...
meet him in the fucking.
Yes,
prison.
they meet him in the prison. They all get captured by the guy from Star Wars: The Clone Wars, who has
Yes.
robot legs and the breathing mask. And they all meet up in prison and they
is
escape
more like the character
together.
from Mad Max, the
But-
fucking guy.
The infected Imperial
Fat
pilot
man.
is played by the super good actor. He was super good in Nightcrawler. He played the Indian guy.
The
He-
Indian like assistant.
Yeah, he was the guy's assistant. And
That was
Nightcrawler,
pretty dope.
if you haven't seen Nightcrawler, watch
Nightcrawler
It
is one of my favorite
it is
movies of
fucking ace.
2014, just behind John Wick.
But anyway,
Good movies.
he's a defected Imperial pilot. So they all meet up. They go to this desert planet, and on the desert planet they get found out by the rebels. And there's like these really cheesy. It's essentially a cheesy metaphor for like American imperialism, where
Yeah, where they're shooting Muslims, basically.
there are
It's like-
people in headscarves and fucking robes who are shooting the Imperials. The Imperials are in place of the American soldiers, and essentially they take the role of that. And there's like a crying Asian baby, and there's all this.
Yeah.
Like, it's essentially-
like scenery saying, like, the wars in Afghanistan are bad, and we're just doing them
We should
because of
accept.
race and religion.
We should accept refugees because the Americans are the ones who are fucking up the country and all this.
Yeah.
It's like very thinly veiled propaganda.
It's kind of
where it's telling that the Empire, in this case, the Empire doesn't stand for World War II Nazis. It stands for like modern day
Imperialists.
America, and there are like these really obvious allusions to the rebels being Muslims. It's kind of it's cheesy. It's bad.
Oh my god, it's actually pretty embarrassing when you think about it.
God, I'm getting so sidetracked. But essentially, all these people meet up in the jail.
Let's stay on the plot.
All these people meet up in the jail of the black guy with the robot legs, who's from Star Wars Clone Wars.
The Clone Wars, yes. I don't know what his role was, but he was
Grand Moff Tarkin and the main villain. Whose name
Grand Moff Tarkin.
What's the name of the villain?
General Snoke. General Tarkin. It was Cap.
Whatever. There's some general guy.
What was his fucking? Let's figure out that.
Grand Moff.
That one's important. I was literally remembering it up until now.
Like straight up. General Draven.
No, that's not right.
General. Wait.
General. Fuck. It's not General.
Jyn Erso. Cassian.
I can't remember his name.
No, it's literally General Draven.
No,
that is actually the guy.
General Draven is not right. I can tell you for a fact General Draven is 100% not right. It's fucking...
I'm looking through the IMDb casting. The first one listed as General Draven. And then
that's the Admiral Akbar-esque clone.
General Merrick?
Captain Merrick Jarrett. It's something Merrick.
Okay, well, whatever. The point is, this guy's getting ordered around by Grand Moff Tarkin. And Grand Moff Tarkin, because Peter Cushing is dead. Peter Cushing is the legendary actor.
When he died, but he was in a lot of Hammer films. He's a great actor.
Yeah, he's a Hammer film actor. He primarily played Frankenstein in the Hammer Frankenstein movies, like the evil Frankenstein. Not the Frankenstein
monster. To elaborate for anyone that's not
Dr.
aware,
Frankenstein in the evil
Frankenstein. And
he's a legendary
actor. The original Universal reboots of the Frankenstein franchise.
Yeah, he is
Hammer truly movies.
He's one of the best actors out there.
He's
a classic actor.
Because he's dead now.
Yes,
but they put him in this movie for no reason.
They CGI him in, and it's a shoddy.
It looks like shit.
It's shoddy. It looks like a Pixar movie. He is so out of place. They didn't even get the lighting on him right.
For some reason, he looked better in Episode 3. When he was put in the Episode 3, in
Episode 3 they had an actor plan. They had an actor play him, and they like touched him up a little bit digitally.
This
so
one was like a Snapchat face swap.
Yeah,
if you are young,
it's
and
bad.
You know what that was mean. But if you know what a Snapchat face swap is, young or old, I don't discriminate. But if you know what that shit is, that's what it fucking looked like.
Anyway, in other
words, shit.
Jyn goes out to save her father because her father's about to be killed by the Empire.
And
the Empire realizes
like last link.
The Empire realizes that Jyn's father is betraying the Empire and that he's setting up the Death Star to fail.
Well, so they kill his. Well, like I won't spoil it. Actually,
there's
essentially they find out. Yeah.
Essentially, they're set to kill him. And
I'll leave you something to watch.
The guy who's about to kill him, whose name is Cassian. It's Cassian.
Yep.
I keep forgetting because it's such a fucking
forgetting
name.
because nobody cares about any of the characters.
Yeah, the characters are all dog shit.
But let's get back to that when
Cassian
is
about
shit in this movie.
Cassian tries to shoot him. Cassian's about to shoot him, but he essentially decides. There's a long period. It's not a long period. And disobey orders to save Jyn.
We were a little ahead of this.
But whatever. Anyway. In the end, Jyn's father ends up dying. Jyn's father says, essentially, you gotta go to this fucking beach planet to get the Death Star plan so that the rebels can figure this out. The entire time, Jyn's father is forced to build the Death Star, but he disobeyed orders to save Jyn.
We were a little ahead of this.
But whatever. Anyway, in the end, Jyn's father ends up dying. Jyn's father says, essentially, you gotta go to this fucking beach planet to get the Death Star plan so that the rebels can figure this out. The entire time, Jyn's father is forced the Death Star to build the Death Star, but it's heavily implied in Episode 4.
It's not heavily implied. It is straight up stated that
it's straight up stated that the first time the Death Star is ever fired is on Alderaan. He says, the perfect time to test our weapon is on your home planet. You made the decision to test this on our home planet by refusing to cooperate with us, essentially, is what he says to Leia.
He says basically that it's to teach a lesson.
It's to teach a lesson, but it's also because Leia's not cooperating.
Basically, he says Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck.
And in this movie, they just use the Death Star pretty indiscriminately. So he blows up whatever planet. It's like this desert planet. It's not Jakku. It's not Tatooine. For whatever reason, they decided to use another new planet.
It's so they could blow it up.
And it's full of the clear Muslim stand-ins. Like, hey, we should take in these refugees because it's the Americans who are
they're
destroying whatever.
Talking shit about America.
It's another talking shit about America. Like, the Empire's the stand-in for America in this case.
And that's how
blatantly obvious political propaganda
came to be.
But anyway, moving past that planet, the entire planet gets destroyed.
Yep.
The guy from Star Wars The Clone Wars dies, but everyone else gets off. All of the rest of the Rogue One crew. So the Rogue
they're not
One
really known as Rogue One yet. But
they're not Rogue One.
It doesn't matter.
They go back to the
that shit is retarded.
They go back to the Rebel base. Ooh. And at the Rebel base, Jyn gives this huge speech. She says essentially,
Black Lives Matter. No, basically they said
there's this
we don't know if it's true, so fuck you.
Yeah, basically the transmission that the father sent out, the transmission that Jin's father sent out,
she lost the transmission because she's a
destroyed.
dipshit, so planets got blown up.
So everyone's like, we kind of doubt what you're saying. We think you're trying to like save your father by like redeem your father by lying about our plans, and everyone's like, nah, fam. Everyone's like, that's a big ass risk for. We're not doing that.
Basically they said
there's this
we don't know if it's true, so fuck you.
Basically,
because fuck
they
you.
say you're full of shit. But
why the fuck would they believe her anyways? But
the rebels have a committee, and the rebels say we're not going to do this because it's a stupid waste of time. And she says, well, I'm doing it anyway. So essentially, everyone volunteers. All the main characters. You got Ip Man is there,
full of shit,
and the guy with the machine gun who defends Ip Man.
Why the fuck would they believe her anyways?
The rebels guy from oh god, I should know his name. The Indian guy from Nightcrawler is. She says, well, I'm doing it anyway. So essentially, everyone volunteers. All the main characters. You got Ip Man is there. And the guy with the machine gun who defends Ip Man.
Machine Gun Kelly.
You got the Indian guy.
No character.
This is supposed to be
from.
Oh god, I should know his name. The Indian guy from Nightcrawler is super good. He's not good in this movie. Riz Ahmed is his name.
He's not bad. He just doesn't have a part.
He doesn't do anything in this movie.
I wouldn't call him bad because he just didn't have a chance to do anything like every other character in this movie because the convoluted ass plot. There's no character.
This is supposed to be
just a plot.
There's the robot, there's the Indian guy from Nightcrawler, there's Jin, there's the guy Cassian, and then there's Ip Man and Ip Man's bodyguard, and a couple other people essentially like say, I like what you're doing, we're gonna do this even though the rebels say not to do it, because the rebels recognize that this is a crappy plan.
That to take over an entire
So they go to this
planet
beach planet. And most of the crew sacrifices itself to be a distraction.
Yeah.
Jin, the robot, and the love interest guy all go into the place. The problem is they do nothing with the setting. And we'll get to that when we get to the actual review of it. But essentially, the entire crew lands. And most of the crew sacrifices is Jin, the robot, and the love interest guy. All go into the place. The rebel,
Grand Moff,
the Empire base.
Tarkin.
CGI Grand Moff Tarkin is like, you gotta kill these people. So essentially, what happens is the robot sacrifices himself, and they climb up, and the guy can get is stored in they kind of a realistic way. Where everything is stored on a separate hard drive in this massive thing, and it's hard to describe without. It's hard to describe the visuals, but essentially all the data is stored in this massive tower, and they climb up, and they take the data, and they climb up the tower, and it's on this beach planet is so amazing, and they do so little with it.
Yeah, no, they make a lot of amazing visuals in this movie.
The visuals are so good. The Rebel fleet comes as they're doing this, and the Rebel fleet's main goal is to turn down the shield generator so that they can transmit the plans. But essentially, Jin and the love interest guy, Cassian. His name is Cassian, I remember that now. Jin and Cassian climb up the tower, and they have the data for the Death Star plans, which when analyzed reveal the secret to destroying the Death Star, which was planted by Jin's father. And as they're climbing up, they get attacked, and Cassian is blown away by the main villain, whose name is General something.
General fucking Hux. That's what it was.
It's not General Hux. He's the guy from episode 7. The secret to destroying the Death Star, which was planted by Jin's father. Okay. And as they're climbing up, they get attacked,
General
and
Death Star.
Cassian is blown away by the main villain, whose name is General something.
General fucking Hux. That's what it was.
I'm checking. It's not General Hux. He's the guy from episode 7.
I don't know for sure.
If I close one eye, I can focus really good.
Okay, I think it's General Draven.
Okay.
It has to be
It's not
General
General Draven. It's absolutely
Yeah,
not.
it is. It
No,
literally
it's not.
is General Draven.
Did you see this fucking movie? It's General.
General Draven is the first general listed.
Okay, I'll look this up.
General Merrick is
because
super
he's a
young.
good guy. He wasn't a general.
But anyway,
That's a good guy.
General
I
Zidane.
don't want to call him by the fucking wrong name because somebody's gonna bitch about it in the comment section if anybody ever sees this movie. What the fuck are you doing, Wikipedia?
But anyway, let's get back to the story of this
General
movie.
fucking not Hux.
Jin and Merrick, not Merrick.
General. Fucking what?
Jin and Cassian, they climb this thing. Cassian gets shot. You're supposed to believe Cassian's dead, but it's pretty obvious that he's not. Jin gets to the top, and she starts transmitting the data. And there's this blue Admiral who crashes a ship into an Imperial Star Destroyer. And it's completely ridiculous that an Imperial Star Destroyer could be taken down by such a small ship. But it's called it's
Star
called the
Destroyers are
Hammerhead.
getting shot like 3 times and they're blown up, so who cares?
Yeah, the Imperial Star Destroyers were looking like nothing. In the original trilogy, they're this massive threat. They're unstoppable motherfuckers of ships. And in this movie, they're just getting destroyed left and right. But essentially, the Hammerhead ship, I don't remember the exact name of it, but they call it the Hammerhead, smashes 2 Imperial Star Destroyers and uses it to take down the shield around the beach planet.
The beach planet.
And
Because the beach planet's in a big ass war right now.
Essentially, the Indian guy from Nightcrawler sets up a connection, and Ip Man walks out and he verifies the connection. Ip Man dies, and it's implied that the Indian guy dies. And there's this guy who travels with Ip Man who shoots a gun. He shoots like he's Ip Man's protector. He's Ip Man's best friend. He's Ip Man's butt buddy. Whatever the fuck you want to call him. He blasts a bunch of stormtroopers, but essentially Ip Man is able to use. Ip Man dies, and it's implied that the Indian guy dies. And there's this guy who travels with Ip Man who shoots a gun. He shoots like he's Ip Man's protector. He's Ip Man's best friend. He's Ip Man's butt buddy. Whatever the fuck you want to call him. He blasts a bunch of stormtroopers, but essentially Ip Man is able to use someone else through this giant thing. Ip Man is blind. Ip Man walks through this giant field of fire without firing a single shot. He flips the switch, and he's able to transmit the data. Jin climbs, not Jan, because Jan is the girl from Jedi Outcast.
Yes, it is.
Jan Orris is Admiral Akbar. And they send the information
He is
of
Admiral Akbar, but
He's
they
Admiral
just didn't
Akbar,
use
but
Admiral Akbar 'cause
I
they
don't
wanted
know
to kill
why
him
they
off.
didn't pick Admiral Akbar.
Because they wanted to shoot
doesn't
up all
die,
the
though.
ships. They wanted everybody involved with stealing the Death Star to fucking.
But
I'll talk about
anyway,
that later.
whatever.
Die.
Jin transmits the plan to Blue Admiral Akbar
What the fuck?
because
Why do I keep crashing?
General
Grand
Merrick,
Theft Auto.
General Merrick or whatever.
It's Mafia 3.
She gets up to the top of the satellite and she transmits the Death Star's data. And essentially, when she's transmitting the data, the general comes and the general tries to shoot her. The general's like, "I'm gonna shoot your fucking ass," and she gets saved by the love interest, whose name is holy fuck, I'm more drunk than I thought. Cassie.
I'm fucked.
Cassian saves her. Cassian saves Jin. And essentially, she's about to transmit the data. She transmits the data, and it's received by Admiral Akbar. Because
Fake Admiral Akbar.
The rebel?
Not the real Admiral Akbar. We're making.
the rebel fleet comes and attempts
Fuck
to...
you.
The reason that the thing can't be...
God damn it.
The plans can't be sent out because there's a shield around the entire beach planet. It's a super beautiful planet.
It's cool.
But
That's the only... There's
two
cool
there's
things
a
about this
hammerhead.
movie, and I'll
They
tell you later.
have like a ship called the Hammerhead, and they use it to destroy a Star Destroyer, and the Star Destroyer falls on the shield, which deactivates the shield, which allows the Death Star plans to be transmitted. She transmits the Death Star plans, and the transmission of the Death Star plans is received by Admiral Akbar.
And it's basically put on the hard drive at Admiral
And basically
Akbar.
what happens is Grand Moff Tarkin goes above the main villain of this movie and says, let's destroy this planet, even though it's one of our main bases, let's just shoot it up and kill everybody, because they're trying to transmit the Death Star plans. So they shoot the laser, and it kills all the main characters of this movie.
Everybody dies.
They're all roasted. Everybody dies. But the plans are already transmitted to Admiral Akbar, who puts them on the Tanev IV, which is in waiting.
And Darth Vader, but you
Darth
forget.
Vader comes in?
No, what happens is it gets put on this Star Destroyer, not the Star Destroyer, but the good guy.
The Death Star.
Destroyer.
The Death Star blows up. It doesn't blow up the entire beach planet. Essentially, they show that the Death Star can fire at 1/4 power, and by firing at 1/4 power, they essentially do a nuclear bomb.
Slow as fuck, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't destroy the entire
Like a
planet.
mega
It's essentially
nuclear
a nuclear bomb. They use the nuclear bomb to destroy their own planet, although the plans are already transmitted, and that's how the main villain is killed. He survives the bullet, and then he's destroyed by getting directly hit by the laser, which is like the cheesiest thing ever. It's so cheesy. Everything in the movie is cheesy, but
yeah.
the movie essentially ends
Literally
where
5 minutes before the end.
about 5 minutes before Episode 4, A New Hope, starts, where there's this amazing action scene. Darth Vader is tearing people up, he's cutting them down, he's force throwing them around, and they're all the rebels, and the rebels are essentially trying to pass the information on, the information of the Death Star plans.
Yes.
And the plans end up on the Tanev IV, and it's the Tanev 4. The IV, calling it the Tanev IV is incorrect, but they pass.
Everybody calls it
They
the
pass the
IV.
they pass the plans to the Tanev 4.
Literally, this
And
is like
just-
the only. This is the dopest
Peter
scene.
Cushing is one of the greatest actors ever. He's in The Evil Frankenstein, which is probably the best Frankenstein movie in my opinion.
I like The Bride as Frankenstein the best. It's just the most classic.
Okay.
But
whatever.
That's a digression.
Peter Cushing was in the Hammer Dracula films, and he played Grand Moff Tarkin.
He was
In the
shitty.
same way that Grand Moff Tarkin was CGI'd into this movie, they CGI'd a young Carrie Fisher in.
it
And the
looks
young
like
Carrie
crap.
Fisher essentially receives the plans at the end of the movie, and about 5 minutes before A New Hope starts, Darth Vader, there's this amazing action scene. It's the only good action scene in the movie. Essentially, Darth Vader force chokes, force pushes, and slashes down a bunch of rebels.
It's literally probably.
It's a
one of-
modernized version.
It's like one of my top 10 favorite scenes in all of the
Oh my
Star
God.
Wars
It is-
franchise. It's really.
It's
cool.
fantastic, because the thing about
It's the only good thing in this entire
In the prequels,
fucking
the action is
crappy-ass
really
movie.
slow-paced.
Spoiler alert: this movie
Darth
sucks.
Vader relies on the Force a lot. Like in Episode 4, when Vader attacks the Tanev 4, he does not use his lightsaber a single time. He only uses the Force. And this is like the modern equivalent of what the Episode 4 Tanev 4 scene would be, you know?
Yes.
Like, he uses the lightsaber, but it's pretty sparing. There's no backflips or anything. He uses it like an actual sword. He swings it around. There's like, it feels like there's weight to the actual sword. The scene itself is so amazing. Darth Vader essentially slaughters a bunch of rebels, but they're able to pass the plans on to Princess Leia, and Princess Leia is CGI'd in with a body double. Is it a body double?
And it does look like shit because her head shape isn't.
It doesn't look as bad as Peter Cushing, but it looks
worse than Peter Cushing. But let's
pretty
just
bad.
digress. Let's
But
digress
essentially-
from the plot.
essentially what
it
it's-
leads into A New Hope.
What
This
it
is the direct
establishes is that Rogue One takes place maybe at most 5 minutes before episode.
Okay, maybe more than 5 minutes. But basically, they know the Death Star plans is This faggot pissed on my hand.
Anyway.
He peed on
Okay,
me.
so we described essentially the whole plot. Essentially,
But let's go on to the
the
ending.
ending.
That's where we're at.
Tanf IV, it's led
Darth
with
Vader
this
kills
awesome
another
action
guys.
scene with Darth Vader, the only good scene in the movie. And the end of the movie essentially is seconds before A New Hope starts, where Leia has just gotten the plans, C-3PO and R2-D2 are on Tantive 4, and she sticks the thing in,
What are
like,
you talking about? Oh.
it's like 10 minutes before. The end of Rogue
It's
One.
close. It's
the end of Rogue
close.
One takes place at most an hour before.
It doesn't take place very long
An
before.
episode-
I'm not going to
episode 4.
speculate how long it was, because technically we don't know. But essentially we know Darth Vader is in the Star Destroyer. The plans are in the Tandem IV. It is a very close. Just a...
So now that we're done describing the plot, essentially we've described the entire plot of Rogue One. With some
Essentially
editing.
we did. Let's go into this. Let me start by saying for the
3
first... Right into one thing. I want to go into the characters they CGI'd in.
So now that we're done describing the plot, essentially we've described the entire plot of Rogue One. With some
Essentially
editing.
we did. Let's go into this. Let me start by saying for the
3
first...
weeks.
Let's go right into one thing. I want to go into the characters they CGI'd in. Because... And Carrie Fisher. And both of them looked like absolute fucking shit.
Oh, Peter Cushing.
Peter
looked
Cushing
so bad.
looked like a Pixar movie. But Carrie Fisher didn't even have the same head shape. It looked like a goddamn one of those
No,
Snapchat filters.
Carrie Fisher's not authentic.
It looks like shit.
But Carrie Fisher only appears for about 30 seconds.
This movie...
Peter Cushing appears several times in the movie, separated by minutes, not just minutes. There are times where Peter Cushing will be gone for an hour from the movie and come back. Peter Cushing does not look good any of the times. It is essentially...
No, obviously not.
It's essentially shitting on the legacy of one of, like, the most classic actors.
What? He's one of the most classic...
He's not one of the most classic actors in history, but as far as, like, horror movies go, you have the guy who played Frankenstein in, I think, 4 movies, maybe 5.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking
Christopher
about Peter
Lee?
Cushing. No, Peter Cushing.
Oh, he
didn't
played
play
Dr.
Dracula. I meant
Frankenstein.
Dr. Frankenstein in
He actually
the
did play
Frankenstein reboot.
Frankenstein in one of the movies, I believe.
Evil of Frankenstein.
Yes. He played
Whatever.
Frankenstein.
He played
in many
Frankenstein 4 or 5 times.
Who cares, dude? This is a
As
tangent.
well as
What I'm
playing-
saying is the CGI looks like fucking crap.
It looks like crap.
Let's move on.
The CGI,
the characters are
the CGI
unestablished. They're
isn't
fucking
the
crap.
CGI isn't only bad in that scene. Because there's a scene where they use a giant squid. They use like this squid monster to probe the Indian guy. I really want to remember his name because outside of this movie, he is such a good actor. Like Riz Ahmed.
Let's be honest. Here, let's Aiden guy and the Asian guy. You know, they fought people. That's about it. And the fucking
The robot.
black guy.
The
Oh my
robot.
god, I'm being racist right now. But the guy who
The robot is
Jenna
Sheldon
Erso
Cooper.
into Shit. The robot is the main. He talked the most. Jenna Erso is
didn't
A,
talk about
cringy. B, annoying. C, I fucking hate him. And D, suck my fucking balls,
the-
Disney. Honestly,
the
I'm gonna be
robot-
straight up with you guys right now. Rogue One is the worst Star Wars movie of all time. I would rather
The
watch
robot-
Episode 2. I am dead fucking serious right now. This movie fucking sucked.
The robot
I'm so
does a lot
hammered
of stupid
right now.
crap.
He's Sheldon Cooper. He is A, cringy. B, annoying. C, I fucking hate him. And D, suck my fucking balls,
the-
Disney. Honestly,
the
I'm gonna be
robot-
straight up with you guys right now. Rogue One is the worst Star Wars movie of all time. I would rather
The
watch
robot-
Episode 2. I am dead fucking serious right now. This movie fucking sucked.
The robot
so
does a lot
hammered
of stupid crap. Muslim territory where it's like you should accept.
Oh, when they're
refugees 'cause
talking about the
Muslims are
fucking
good guys.
Somalian crime. You really said for a second this movie's better than Episode 1? Are you fucking shitting me, dude?
The robot activates a thermal detonator and
Wow.
throws it behind him without looking and blows up like a series of
Wow, this
stormtroopers.
movie's gay.
There's a lot of cheesy
This
stuff
movie-
that goes on.
This review
And that's not even
sounds-
that's not even talking about the lines.
Oh no.
Like
Oh no, the lines of dialogue are written by a 5-year-old boy.
The dialogue is really cheesy.
Aiden,
there's a lot of.
We got to. Can we just stop for a second and allow us to actually talk about shit? Because you're just moving spot to spot, and we both are. But let's just take this back and let me just say something. This movie is fucking crappy. The plot makes no sense. Nobody cares about any of the fucking characters because none of them are established. The characters are about as well as established as a Transformer. Basically, the Indian guy is Ratchet. When he gets shot to death, who really cares?
Yes.
The Asian guy is like Jazz. When he gets ripped in half by Megatron, who gives a fuck? This whole movie sucked ass.
Yip Man was the one I was most sad about.
Can we be straight up? Did the main character, Jin Urso? Let's talk about. Let's talk about one part of this film. Let's not go around. Jin Urso. She probably said 8 lines in this entire fucking movie. The only thing we know is, A, she loves that guy for no fucking reason who has no character.
Jedi Outcast is a fantastic game. It has fantastic.
Stop talking about random shit. This movie has no story. It was written like a goddamn Gears of War.
Darth Vader quips. Everybody quips.
Well, what are we talking about?
Goes down to on a lot of levels.
The plot was fine. This
is that it has the plot of a Star Wars.
Hey guys, we're gonna talk about the first part.
Jedi Outcast is a fantastic game. It has fantastic.
Stop talking about random shit. This movie has no story. It was written like a goddamn Gears of War.
Darth Vader quips. Everybody quips.
Well, what are we talking about? Fucking crappy ass movies. Worse than the fucking Star Wars. Hey guys, we're going to talk about the first part of this movie. And the first part of this fucking crappy ass movie is that, here, let's start talking about this topics. Number 1, none of these fucking characters have a fucking storyline that anybody cares about. And when each character dies, I feel satisfaction because this fucking crappy ass movie is worse than the fucking Star Wars prequel.